and we won't have to cry no more.
Welcome to another special episode of The I.M.A.G.E Show on 89.3 KJMC, the heart and soul of the city, DMI. We want to thank you all for tuning in. For those of you joining us by YouTube, we want to tell you thank you so much for all of your support. Continue to subscribe out there. We want to make sure that we're spreading the message all across the country, all across the world. We've got Ken Silver in the house with us, and we've also got another special guest that's going to be coming on the show after the break. His name is Sean Duncan, and I'll tell you that Sean has a beautiful story to tell. This man has had a long journey through life with incarceration. He's got a long history of learning and going through trials and tribulations. We're going to speak with him after the break. Ken Silver, it's a pleasure to have you back on the I.M.A.G.E Show with us.
Good to be back here with you. You need somebody to keep you straight, and I was worried about what was going on while I was gone, but I can relax now.
Well, you know, Ken, you were gone a whole year and a half, and I want to tell you that's another point that we bring up. It's a blessing to have you back with us. I'm glad that your health is progressing. You know, we were keeping you in prayer, and you actually came through a miracle. That was actually a blessing.
Yeah, it was kind of tough. Had a couple of surgeries and some wild medical experiences, but, God's great and took us through all that. And here in another couple of months, I should be as good as new, and that wasn't very good, but at least it's better than what I am now.
Got a quick question.
Okay.
Do you plan on going back to Florida this year?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I'll bet you'll enjoy that.
Last week we started out, and what did we say? We're going to talk about black on black crime.
Yes.
And it's like a lot of times when you start off thinking you know what you're talking about, you end up going down the wrong road.
Yes.
And as we got to investigating some of the facts, we found out that black on black crime is not any more prevalent than white on white crime. And statistically, about 65% of all the white people that are murdered by another white person. About 70% of all the black people that are murdered by another black person. So, what we've come up with is there are just plain too many people getting murdered. And I don't know why the black people kill black people and white people kill white people, other than that's who they're hanging around with. But it brought us to a point that as we were doing the research, we looked at the number of homicides by teenagers. And that's where our hearts went out. We said in the United States there were about 1,400 teenagers killed last year. And we thought, well, us old people and adults, maybe it's too late to change us. Maybe there's nothing we can do. Is there something we can do to help the young people? So what we did, we said, okay, we've identified the problem now. We know, yes, there's too many people getting killed. There's too many people, black people killing black people. There's too many white people killing white people. There's too many teenagers getting killed and killing people. So once we know that, let's redefine the problem. Let's not talk about black on black crime. Let's talk about how do we reduce and eliminate these homicides by these teenagers. And I think, we've seen way too much of it here in Des Moines. Forget the race thing. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, or whatever.
Well, and I'll tell you,
14 years old and getting killed.
Yeah, one thing that I'm seeing is that these kids are getting so much smarter, and with all the extra knowledge that they're getting, and it comes kind of with some dictation and authority. And I say that because, I see these kids every day. I work with these kids every single day, and I'm amazed at how smart they are. The knowledge that they can retain, how they can apply it, how they learn these different behaviors, and then correlate with other kids, and then how they learn and go on to do this type of stuff. And so, I don't know so much if this is ever going to change, if it's just going to continue to get worse, as far as the violence that comes with this. Because, see, there's a behavior, I think, that comes with all of this as kids.
Well, I think there is. And as we did our research, we said, okay, once we've identified the problem, let's see if we can come up with the cause. Why do we have this problem? And last week we talked with a couple of these young people, and I think everybody that's been involved in researching this problem comes up with one solution that's the big cause, and that's the family. There's a lack of family support. It's got to start with mom and dad. And when you've got, my pet peeve is guys that go around having kids and then take off. There's too many guys that have got 4 kids and 4 different women, and they're not living with any of them, and they let the women take care of raising the kids, and the women are trying to work and teach the kids right and wrong. And that's where things go wrong to start with. And if you don't have a good home life, you don't have a chance. So
I agree.
We've identified one of the big problems is the lack of home life. The other thing is the gang influence. And as well as I do, if you've got a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid hanging around, what do you look at? You don't have anything to do. You see the guys that are doing drugs, doing gangs. They got the money. They see, oh, wow, that's what I want to be like. They don't think about the long-term effects. And I think, we've got a guest coming on later on tonight that's going to talk to us a little bit about what happens if you make bad decisions. And too many of these kids are making bad decisions in a gang environment.
Yes, that's true. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned in to 89.3 KJMC, the heart and soul of the city. And we've got Ken Silver with us. We've also got Sean Duncan, who will be a guest on the show coming up after the break. And he's going to tell his story and talk a little bit about the journey that he's been through. And Ken, I think that, all of this together, what we're talking about, I think Sean is going to be able to come up here and kind of blend right into this.
Oh, yeah. That's why we've got him on here. You and I can sit here and talk, but we need somebody that knows what they're talking about to back us up.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, don't change that dial. You're tuned in to 89.3's KJMC, and you're locked and loaded into the I.M.A.G.E show. When we come back, we're going to speak with Sean Duncan. We'll be back after these messages. The Wilkie House is a nonprofit organization that has been a pillar of Des Moines' black community for over 104 years. The Wilkie House's mission has evolved over the decades, and the current mission is to develop character and esteem in young people through the promotion of academics, social skill building, recreation, and health. It is the ultimate vision of the Wilkie House to assist young people in reaching their highest potential. The Wilkie House operates an after-school and summer program that serves up to 70 youth in kindergarten through 8th grade. This program not only enriches the lives of those youth, but also supports working families by providing critical child care. Sign your child up online at wilkiehouse.org. If you would like to join the Wilkie House team, they are looking for 2 AmeriCorps class assistants. You can find the position description on Indeed.com. The Wilkie House family believes that it takes a village to raise a child, and today they are inviting you to become a part of that village. You can make a donation at wilkiehouse.org or by mailing a check. You can also support Wilkie House operations by renting the Wilkie House gym for your next baby shower or birthday party. Follow the Wilkie House on Facebook, where you will find their Amazon wish list of supplies and equipment, wilkiehouse.org, just above the donation button. Thank you for your support. Now, I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I definitely support the Wilkie House because I know that they are doing a lot in the community. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, on the I.M.A.G.E show, and we've got Ken Silver in the house with us, and we've also got our special guest, Sean Duncan, and this is special edition. You are officially locked and loaded into special edition on 89.3 KJMC, the heart and soul of the city, DMI. And so, Sean Duncan, it is a pleasure to have you on the I.M.A.G.E show, my friend.
Is it a pleasure to be here, brother?
You know, after having breakfast with you and meeting you, I want to say I'm very impressed. Now, you know, I want you to get a chance to tell your story. I want you to tell everyone a little bit about yourself, and, you know, give them a good feel of, you know, what brought you, first of all, to Des Moines, Iowa, your journey, and then kind of where you're at right now. Now, we've got, you know, a lot to cover here still in, Ken, what you were talking about earlier, but I want to, I want to hear, first of all, Ken, I want you to go back to where we were at, but then I want to hear your story, Sean. I think that everybody needs to hear that.
Okay. You want me to go?
Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. I came to Des Moines and originally in 1993 from Baltimore, Maryland. I came here under the pretenses of running from the law. I was on the run for an attempted murder armed robbery that had occurred in the commission of trying to obtain money and drugs from a drug dealer. The drug dealer was shot and he was robbed of his drugs. And the story goes, I went on the lam and I had one relative here in the state of Iowa. And I was placed on a bus, and I was sent here to, you know, to evade the law. A few months into my,
now, we talked about that gentleman, Pop Wright, former Drake basketball player.
Absolutely.
A lot of us remember Pop Wright.
Absolutely,
that's your cousin.
Pop Wright is my he's my second cousin. He is my father's first cousin. His mother and my father's mother are sisters. And that's who I came out here with was Pop Wright. However, it didn't go as planned. I was, you know, basically just dropped in the lap of the state of Iowa. I was but a young man. I was just about to turn 18, and it started. It rekindled the old me that I tried to get away from, and all it did was just geographically move to the state of Iowa. I tried to do the right thing for the first few months that I was here. I got a good job as a union painter. I had got my own apartment, got my own car, you know, so things were looking up. And then I tried to implement my old ways into what I was trying to do that was so right. Whole time I'm on the run from the law, mind you. I got introduced to a whole different game if you will, that I had never been introduced to, and that was methamphetamine. The people who I was working with at this painting company, they were users of this product, and they would tell me these stories about what it did to them, what it did for them, and how it made them feel. And of course, I didn't want any parts of that. I wanted the part that I wanted from it was the proceeds of them and their usage, which was they were breaking into houses, they were taking stuff that didn't belong to them, and it was all stuff that looked good to me. So I started to procure this stuff, which turned around and it bit me in the behind. I ended up with 30 plus counts of daytime burglary, and on top of a fugitive from justice for the incident that happened in Baltimore, Maryland. So I ended up the Des Moines Police Department, West Des Moines Police Department, and the Fugitive Task Force, Federal Bureau of Investigations, conducted an investigation. They found out my location through my employer, and they conducted a raid on my apartment and took me to jail. That started in 1993. I was extradited back to Baltimore and to face my charges. Iowa dropped the burglary charges if I didn't fight my extradition to go back to Baltimore to face more serious charges. I got back to Baltimore, and so to fast forward a little bit, I had a trial which I was found guilty of, was sentenced to 16 years. The justice system in Maryland and the justice system in Iowa, they're two different justice systems. There's so many people in the justice system there that, they basically just funnel you through. I was sentenced to 16 years, and on that 16 years, I did 4 years and 3 months. I was released from prison in Baltimore on January 25th of 1997. I then, that same day I was released from prison, I jumped on a bus and I came right back to the state of Iowa. I knew that something was different about Iowa. I knew that something could be different about Iowa. And, here we are years later, I'm still here. However, I wasn't good to Iowa, and the state of Iowa they have made me pay for every infraction that I have ever had with the law, and as they should. I'm not saying that I'm above the law. I'm not saying that I shouldn't have paid for the crimes that I've committed, because I very well should have. I stayed out of trouble for a while, and I tried sobriety, and sobriety was just boring for me. It didn't entail the women. It didn't entail the jewelry. It didn't entail the cars. It just entailed going to a bunch of boring meetings, if you will, and telling other strangers that I had a problem, and I didn't even want to admit that I had a problem, let alone tell a stranger that I had one. So I disassociated myself immediately with the Narcotics Anonymous program, and soon after that, I would find myself back out in the grips of addiction. We do stints in and out of jail for, petty possession of crack cocaine, possession of stolen property, theft. You name it. It runs the gamut. We go to 1999. 1999 is when I committed a robbery, and it's weird because the robbery happened one block exactly from where I live at right now. I robbed an establishment for pennies, and I was found out, and I was held responsible for that as well. I went to jail, went to trial, got found guilty, was sentenced to 15 years I pled out from first degree robbery to first degree theft. I was given 15 years with no mandatory, and so I did about 6 years before I was released. I was released in 2006, and since 2006, it has been a whirlwind. And when I tell you it's been a whirlwind, it has been a whirlwind. I have been involved in gang shootings. I have been involved in heavy gang activity. I have heavily been involved in drugs, the usage and the sales of I have been involved in. I mean, the list just goes on and on.
Well, I want to tell you, first of all, I'm glad that you reached out to me, and I'm glad that you're here on the air, being able to send your message out to a whole bunch of other people that need to hear this. I also know and remember you talking about the bridges that you burned throughout this duration of time, and the people that didn't want to put any trust in you, and how you wanted to change their way of thinking. And we talked about, solutions to that. And so for those of you listening out there, I just want you to know that this stuff is real, and there's a lot of trauma that comes with a lot of us as individuals and the journeys that we've gone through, whether it be prison or just a hard life. And so Sean he's actually a product of our environment. The I.M.A.G.E program was built on the biblical principles, and our mission statement is to help those who are looking to help themselves. And so Sean came willing to help himself. And so, Sean, I want to just commend you for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's not been easy. You spoke about burning bridges, and, I think, for me, that was instrumental in my, in my return to society, because I no longer wanted to be the person who was known to, screw you over in one way, shape, form. I've burnt the bridges with associates. I've burnt bridges with family members. I burnt bridges with my soon-to-be ex-wife. I burnt bridges with my children. I burned bridges with my parents before their deaths, it was heart-wrenching for me to be able to sit back and look at that for exactly what it is, and look at it at face value. And that's that, addiction is cunning and it's baffling, and it doesn't discriminate, and it takes you places and it does things to you that you don't necessarily want to do. Takes you places that you don't necessarily want to be, and it puts you in the company of people that you don't necessarily want to be around. And I accomplished all of those things in a very short period of time, and in over a long period of time as well. But I'm at a point in my life right now where, if you, and I mean, a person whom I come in contact with, it's not about, positivity, good vibes, change, trying to do something better, to better oneself or someone around them. I don't even have time for it. I have come here. I've been shot. I've been stabbed. I've been beaten. I've pilfered. I've pillaged. I've maimed. I've harmed. I've done a lot of things, and yet I still stand here. And this is a pivotal moment for me. Like, to get here, to be able to tell my side of the story. To the listeners out there, and you two gentlemen who have been gracious enough to allow me to sit here and do so. Failure is not an option for me today. It's not an option for me today. I want to be a success story, not because, what somebody else measures success as. I want to be a success story for me, because I know at the end of the day, it's this. I can go to 100 NA meetings in a month. I can work 5 jobs. I can attend 50 community functions in a week. But at the end of the day, if my heart's not in it, it's not going to mean anything. And the biggest change came when I allowed my heart to heal and to begin a healing process, and to try to get back to a sense of normalcy. And that's hard for me, because I actually don't even really know what normalcy is. I come from a drug-addicted home where my mother and father were addicted to drugs, heroin, namely. I come from a community, Baltimore, Maryland, the streets that raised me, that was heroin-riddled, cocaine-riddled, gang violence. I came from that environment, and I embraced it, and I became a part of it, and I exuded it in my walk through life. And here I stand now. I'm reaching out to those that want to do something different and that want to make a change in their community and in society as a whole. It can be done. It can be done. I know that if I get to this mindset, I know that, there's Polk County Jail is full of people, with a story just like mine. Fort Madison Penitentiary is full of people with a story like mine, So, I'm fortunate enough to be here to be able to tell this story and to have people to actually listen to it. So I'm eternally grateful.
Oh, I'll tell you, man, you just gave us an earful. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into 89.3 KJMC, the heart and soul of the city. Ken Silver, what did you think about that story right there?
Well, before the break, we started to talk about the causes of the problem. Mm-hmm. And there's too much teenage violence, there's too much teenage crime, and too often it ends up resulting in homicides and so on. Sean's story exemplifies the causes of the problem that we've been studying. We started out, we said, you got to have a good family to support you. You got to have a mother and a father that are teaching you right from wrong. They're going to discipline you. Okay?
Absolutely.
You can't let the society teach you right from wrong. You can't let your peers teach you right from wrong. It's got to start at home. We talked about gang influence, how easy it is for a young person to become influenced by gangs. And Sean just talked about that himself. You'd like, oh, it's the jewelry, it's the money, it's the prestige, it's the power. I'm hot stuff. I belong to a gang. Another one of the causes. And going on down through then, no path for success.
Absolutely.
You're a young person, 16, 17, 18 years old. Even if you want to be a doctor or an engineer or lawyer, whatever you want to, how am I ever going to do that? There's no way I can do that. You're hopeless.
That's right.
Okay? So because of that, you don't have any goals. And we've said that over and over. We want our young people to have goals. We want to show them how they can be successful. You can't just say, oh, man, anybody can grow up to be president of the United States. I'm not going to make any comments about that right now. But anyway, it's not enough to tell them they can do that. Show them how.
Absolutely.
So hopefully that happens. The other thing that really bothers me, and I don't know how to address it, is the acceptance of the local community. Too often, the community turns their back on the bad actions of these kids. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to.
Well, wait, could you explain that just a little more?
Okay. I'm trying.
No, you said the community turns their back on these kids.
Okay. We've got this crime going on in certain neighborhoods. The people in the community know who's doing it. They know what's going on.
Absolutely.
Are they doing anything to stop it? No. I'm a law and order guy. I'll tell you that right up front. And if you don't want to cooperate with the police, you're just supporting this bad habits that these young people are getting into. I understand the fear of the gang and the retaliation and all this stuff. But I'll also tell you, there's time and time again where we've got examples where neighborhoods and communities have turned this thing around because they all got together and they said, we're not putting up with this anymore. So,
and I think what happened is a lot of these kids, they get mixed up with this term cooperation. That's a heavy term right there because it relates to snitch.
Absolutely.
Now, the cooperation that you're kind of displaying, Ken, is, community cooperation. Let's keep our community safe. That's different than someone getting in trouble and going down to the police department and getting freed of all their charges and their responsibility for what they were doing to go blame somebody else. So, that's another form of cooperation. And it's just, I think that's a big problem in itself also, because now you have communities and kids anything that relates to cooperation, they don't want to have nothing to do with.
Right.
And it's wrong.
Right.
We're all responsible for what happens in this world. We're responsible for ourselves. We're responsible for trying to make sure that other people act properly. If we turn our back on it, it just festers like a cancer. You can't let it go.
Well, and I think it goes back, believe it or not, I believe that this goes back to the war on drugs. A lot of this goes back to the war on drugs.
Well,
and I'm not going to open up that can of worms.
Well,
but
I want to talk about that a minute.
Okay. If you want to open that up, go right ahead.
I'm not going to open it up. I'm just going to say, one of the things that Sean did not mention is that he suffered personally with his family the loss of a couple children because of some of the things we're talking about, the gangs and the drugs. And so, this is a guy sitting here beside me that knows firsthand what we're talking about and why it's so important that we do something about it.
Yes, sir. And I think one of the biggest problems today with our youth is that we're not being raised by parents. We're being raised by the internet. You know what I mean? And, the internet is, there's some good in it, but the bad outweighs it. And, when a 12-year-old, and I have a 12-year-old daughter right now that's really going through some tough stuff, with dealing with the loss of her two brothers. When you have a 12-year-old that can log on to the internet and see just about any and everything under the sun, it's disheartening because, rather than ask mom, Mom, can you help me with this homework? They're asking Siri and they're asking Google and, they're asking Alexa, these are the things that are being planted in our children's heads.
And they're not asking for help with homework. They're asking for information on drugs and sex and,
absolutely.
and so on.
Absolutely. There was an incident that happened in my life, January 30th of 2020 over on the south side of Des Moines. Two children, Devontae and Malachi, along with their friend Thane Wright.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes,
they got the ones that were killed in the car accident.
They were murdered. They were murdered.
Oh, I'm thinking of something else.
They were murdered in my soon-to-be ex-wife's house. I've lost friends, to murder. I've lost family members. I've lost, I've seen, brains on the curb. I've seen all that stuff, but to actually, lose two kids who you invested in, put in years with and, and rearing and, and helping them with homework and, taking them fishing and, trying to show them, the things that, that a growing young man should do and know. And, you try to show them the ways of a man, and to have them, taken at that early an age. Devontae was 19. He was a really good kid. He graduated high school. He went to school in Melcher, Dallas. He was a star basketball player, football player, all around good kid. Malachi, same thing, really good kid. Their lives were taken way too young. They never got a chance to properly say goodbye to their mom. They never got a proper chance to say goodbye to their sisters. And it's been really hard to deal with. At one point in time, I had found myself seeking psychological help because it was just too much for me to deal with. It was really, really overwhelming to the point where, I had contemplated suicide because I felt like a failure as a father, as a stepfather. I felt like a failure as a human being, as a husband, as a protector, And
I'll tell you, speaking of that, we are living in times right now where people are feeling like they're failures, where people are feeling like, they're having just some of the worst times in their life. They're feeling humiliated. They're dealing with a whole lot on the job site, poverty. I mean, there's all kind of problems right now out here in the world.
Yeah.
Emotions are striking up. And so for those of you listening right now, for those of you in the Polk County Jail, in Mitchellville, wherever you're at, if you're going through a tough time, we want to encourage you to take a minute, get on your hands and knees and ask God to come into your life and to reveal the problem. It may be something that you're doing wrong. It may be something that you're not doing. But whatever it is, we know that those answers come from the Lord. And so we always want to encourage that and make sure that, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
That's well said. And I'm glad you brought up the spirituality aspect of it, because, it wasn't until I came to grips with the God of my understanding that I was able to even move forward emotionally, spiritually, mentally. I was devastated, after what had happened with the boys, and I had lost all faith in the God of my understanding. Now,
when you say the God of your understanding, what are you referring to?
I'm talking about God.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about God.
Okay.
A lot of people, they, Allah, or what, a lot of people, they have different gods that they serve. Sure. I serve one God. So I had lost my faith. I thought that, here it is, I've done all this stuff. I've hurt all these people. I've shot at people, stabbed people, beat people. I've done all this stuff. I've been to prison numerous times. I've, been in and out of hospitals numerous times, But, here it is, these kids, 19, 16, and 15, who have never done anything to anybody, you know what I mean? And you take them, so my faith in the God of my understanding had waned a little bit, but it wasn't until I had actually,
Let me ask you a question. I don't mean to cut you off, but I got a very important question to ask you. Sean, has your heart changed?
My heart, yes, my heart has changed. My heart has changed tremendously. There was a point in time where you would ask anybody that knew me and knew my story, if you were to ask them, anything remotely about a heart, it would definitely not be synonymous with my name. Today, people that know me, people that know my walk, people that know my struggle, people that know my story can absolutely positively tell you with 100% certainty that Mr. Duncan has had a change of heart.
I believe that. I truly believe that.
And I think the best part about it is that, on a daily basis, I find myself exuding it, because it's one thing to say, oh yeah, well, I have a heart, but, to be compassionate towards, towards your neighbor, towards, to a stranger, those are things that have been big improvements and changes in my life. I wasn't a people's person. I was a very selfish person, and I didn't care about anybody but me. So, my neighbor, it didn't matter, but today that's not the case. I care about my fellow man, black, white, brown, right, wrong, or indifferent. You know what I mean? I just know that if I can make this change, I know that it's possible, man. I really do.
That's
I really
right.
do.
That's what we're looking for. As we started out here today, we've identified the problem. We've come up with some of the causes. And here in a little bit, we're going to see if we can't talk about some of the solutions to apply to these young people like God applied to you.
Absolutely.
So let's see what we can do to make some changes.
All right. Let's talk about those solutions then. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into the Image Show. You're locked and loaded into nothing but love. 89.3 KJMC, heart and soul of the city, DMI. We're going to go to a real quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk solutions. Don't change that dial.
Big Rob, how you doing? Good to see you.
Oh, I'm doing pretty good running the Image program, staying on top of things.
I see you got your wings. Is that the lemon pepper?
No, that's the Louisiana rub.
Oh, that's the rub. Look at you.
Oh man, you know I gotta have Louisiana rub every time I go there. Lightly seasoned, extra crispy.
It don't get no better. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the key. Come on down to Wingstop, Merle Road, the one on East 14th Street. Hey, we got a new one in Ankeny.
Wingstop.
You like that? Wingstop.
No. Wingstop.
Wingstop.
No. Wingstop.
We got your wings.
You got it. And we're back on the Image Show, and we're talking solutions. And real quick, I just want to send a happy birthday shout out to all of those who have birthdays in the month of December. My mother's birthday is in the month of December. My aunt's birthday. I know that there's just a lot of birthdays in the month of December. Sean, your birthday is in the month of December.
December 8th.
All right. Big shouts out to that. Also, the Des Moines Talent Show, March 12th. Put it on your calendar. The Downtown Marriott, Downtown DMI. We have changed it from 18 and under to an all-age performance. That's right. It's an all-age performance now. And registration will begin in January. So we're talking solutions on the Image Show. Ken Silver.
I'm happy to know you've opened that talent show up to people of all ages.
Are you going to join?
I think I'll grease
You got a talent you want to?
I'm going to grease up the wheels on my wheelchair, and I'm going to be down there. I can't wait for
That'll
this.
be funny. That'll be funny.
Yeah, Sean gives us a lot of hope, and we beat this to death with what's the problem, what's the causes, and let's talk about what we think is a cure. And one of the things I'm a real strong proponent of, let's take care of things at the grassroots level. Let's do it locally. If we turn it over to the government, they spend a lot of money and they screw it up. So let's talk about what can we do? What here in Des Moines, Iowa, in this neighborhood? The first thing we've got to do is get fathers to accept responsibility for raising their offspring. We got too many males running around town that are nothing but sperm donors.
I agree, Ken.
I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, some of these guys, it's like a badge of honor if you can just sire a kid and then run away.
Well, Ken, as sad as it is to say, I'm almost guilty of it myself.
I am guilty of it.
Well, okay. So let's talk for a minute. We don't have a lot of time left, but what can we do about it?
What?
Okay, the sex drive in men is really, really strong. We know that.
Yes.
It's nothing we've been told. We experienced it, okay?
Yes.
And how do you get people to understand that that's something God gave you to be controlled and used for a good purpose, and not just try to spread your sperm around town? So I think that's the first thing we've got to take care of. The next thing we've got to take care of is provide alternative activities for these young people. They've got to have something to do. And is it sports? Is it church? Is it hobbies? Is it part-time jobs?
We got to educate them.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the other thing.
See, I grew up in a community where, we're talking about the educating part. Sex education. Sex education was it was nil. We didn't have that in my school. We barely had basketball. When you take that, when you don't implement that, and you don't give a growing young man the opportunity to know not just what he's going through physically, but scholastically, if you don't teach that person about sexuality, they are more apt to be promiscuous, and not just men, not just little boys, but girls as well. They are more apt to be promiscuous and and free flowing with their bodies, and the boys, they're impregnating women, and the women, the girls, they're giving birth to all these different kids. And, so I think it definitely starts at the education level. And, where that is right now, I have absolutely no idea.
Again, it goes back to the home life. That's the kind of stuff needs to be taught at home. Dads need to sit down and say, son, let me tell you about this.
I didn't have the birds and the bees talk.
Yeah, no. And why?
I didn't.
Our parents are not taking care of the responsibility. And then we leave it to the school, and we don't know how good the school is. I remember sex education I had years and years and years ago was 8th grade, and the coach got us in the locker room, and he says, well, man, I want to tell you something. Flies spread disease. Keep yours closed. That was the end of our sex education. Anyway, we're talking about give them something else to do. Volunteering. Did any of these kids ever think about volunteering to help at Wilkie House, to help at a hospital, help at a church or someplace?
The problem.
Give them something to do.
The problem with that is that it's the way that kids live today. There's nothing attached to it that says that, helping, going to a community center and volunteering, or going to the Wilkie House, or, going to, your neighborhood nursing home, and, shoveling a walkway for your neighbor, the things that kids are into today, that, that's not attached to it. So, that it's so far removed from their minds that, when you talk to a kid, or a young man or a young woman about trying to, implement some type of volunteer work, and they're going to look at you like,
yeah,
you go volunteer,
But they've got to have something to do. Sports. We had a couple of young kids on last week. Third, fourth grade? They're into sports, and that's great. A hobby of some kind. There's nothing wrong with part-time jobs. You can get a part-time job when you're 14 years old.
That's right.
Or even younger,
I taught
a lawnmower
my kids
for $25 and go mow lawns.
So we're talking about solutions here, and we've talked about sports. We've talked about getting a job. We brought up some real good things to do here in replacement.
It's activities to give them something to do.
Pro-social.
Yeah, they need to do something besides just hanging around.
But today it has to be made to look. It has to be cool.
Yeah.
It has to be. It has to evolve. So volunteering, to do something good, it has to evolve into something that's that's fashionable for kids. Like if one of these if one of these young hot rappers were to come out and say he's spitting bars and he's talking about, I volunteered at the nursing home, then you probably get a couple that that might want to go into a nursing home and do something, But
there's other places that think you can be proud of what you've learned.
And this is what the I.M.A.G.E program is about. This is what drew me to Brother Bobby Pate, and this whole circle. He hasn't given up. He hasn't given up on himself first and foremost, and by not giving up on himself, he's able to reach out and grab a hold of somebody like me. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep it going.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for tuning in. We are about out of time, and we want to say have a happy holidays and continue to tune into the I.M.A.G.E show every Tuesday at 6 p.m. We will look forward to bringing you the message. We want to continue to keep the message and keep the hope alive in our community. We want to keep crime down. Okay, we want to bring the praises up. Okay, crime down, violence down, and we want to say thank you very much. And we'll see you next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Until then, love, peace, and many blessings.
And we won't have to cry.